When actor Wes Ramsey joined the cast of General Hospital as the mysterious Peter August in November of 2017, it was clear that there was more to him than meets the eye. But after his true identity as Henrik Fison was revealed to Port Charles, he struggled to find his place in town. Peter eventually seemed to be turning over a new leaf, but in the end, his multiple horrible crimes were exposed and the guy met a violent end. At least that's how it seemed. Peter August arrived in Port Charles to interview with Drew Kane for a position at Aurora Media, and was soon hired to be the COO. He hired Lulu Falconeri to write for Aurora, and worked with Nina and Maxie on Crimson. Unfortunately, he published Lulu's interview with Nathan West, in which he revealed that he is the biological son of infamous supervillain Caesar Fison. While Drew and Sam were away and Peter was left in charge, he refused to help Anna Devane lure Fison to town, but it was unnecessary, really, because Lulu's story had already brought Fison back to confront Peter himself. Peter comforted Maxie, even though he was partially responsible for her heartbreak. XJJohnson/JPStudios.com. Maxie arrived at the office and found herself caught up in the hostage situation as Fison held them at gunpoint. Peter tried to shoot the villain, but was hit instead. Luckily, he was prepared and wearing a bulletproof vest. Tragically, Nathan wasn't as lucky, and when he rushed to Maxie's rescue, Fison shot and killed him. Peter later visited Fison in the hospital and called him Dad, revealing himself as the mysterious Henrik Fison that people had been searching for. He gloated that he now held all the cards, including the flash drive containing Drew's memories. When Fison struggled to breathe, Peter refused to help and left his father to die. As Maxie grieved, Peter offered the expectant mother a shoulder to cry on, and they became very close, although she had no idea of his true identity. But because she'd worried her child could inherit Fison's Huntington's disease, a worried Peter went to Dr. Griffin Monroe for blood tests himself. And while Peter learned he was in fine health, Griffin also put the pieces together and realized he was Henrik. When the doctor confronted him, Peter was able to manipulate him into keeping his secret. He also clashed frequently with Valentine Cassadine, who feared his own involvement in Peter's mysteries could come to light and jeopardize everything he'd built in Port Charles. Valentine worried Peter's secrets would expose his own. XJJohnson/JPStudios.com. But there were too many people searching for Henrik for Peter to keep his secret much longer, and during the nurses' ball, Sam and Jason found a lighter in Peter's office that made them realize who he really is. Lucky for Peter, he'd already left the ball to drive Maxie home, ending up delivering her baby on the side of the road when she went into labor. Also, Peter was stunned to learn Anna is really his mother. Seeking vengeance for her son's death, Liesl Obrecht kidnapped Peter and tortured him in a secluded cabin with Nina's help. After the angry doc transferred him to Spoon Island, Peter convinced Nina to help him, and they barely escaped with their lives when Obrecht set the building on fire. After he got out of the hospital, Peter was determined to make a fresh start, purchasing the Invader and hiring Lulu to write for him again. He also met his sister, Robin Scorpio Drake, properly, and hoped one day to prove to her that she can accept him as family. Will Anna ever get a Mother's Day card from Peter? XJJohnson/JPStudios.com. As time went on, Peter's relationship with Maxie deepened, and they ultimately confessed their feelings to each other. After a few false starts, the pair finally began dating and made love. Peter's relationship with Anna, however, was trickier as he wasn't comfortable with her acting like his mother. Just as things were finally looking up for Peter, he found himself blackmailed by Shiloh, who threatened to reveal that Henrik was working with Helena Cassadine years ago and was part of the plot to kidnap Drew and Jason. Things got even worse as Peter arranged for Drew's plane to go missing and for someone to stab Andre Maddox to keep the secret. Then, when Franco wanted to erase Drew's memories in the hopes of restoring his own, Peter hired another hitman to kill Franco and Andre. When investigations into the assassination attempt led Anna to Eurotech, a shell corporation used by the evil DVX, she asked Peter about his working for them, but he spun her a yarn and promised he wasn't Heinrich anymore, so she agreed to cover his involvement. He also covered his tracks by pinning the attempted murder on Obrecht. Peter continued to settle into life in Port Charles, and he was thrilled to learn that Maxie was pregnant with his child. However, Robert Scorpio continued to try and expose his web of lies, and Amy and Spinelli wanted to protect Maxie from her both dangerous past. Eventually, Obrecht worked with the WSB and put Dante Falconeri on a mission to bring Peter down and clear her name. And when Peter and Maxie were preparing to tie the knot, Obrecht interrupted the ceremony to reveal that Alex was his real mother. Then, Valentine stepped in to expose Peter's crimes to everyone there. Maxie and Peter's wedding day did not go as planned. ABC as there was no proof. Peter was not arrested at the time, but Franco remembered more about Drew's abduction and kidnapped Peter in order to get to the truth. Unfortunately, his plan backfired, and Peter shot and killed Franco. Joining forces with Cyrus Renault, Peter covered his tracks when Gladys Corbin stepped up and claimed she'd seen Jason at the scene of the crime, and he was arrested. He also arranged for a nurse to replace the real Chloe Jennings so Maxie would hire someone loyal to him and he could make sure nothing happened to his baby girl. However, as the walls were closing in on him, Peter was thrown down a flight of stairs, and there were plenty of people who would have loved to be the one to have done it. Ultimately, it was revealed that Hamilton Finn shoved him during a struggle, and when Elizabeth Weber found the body, they both teamed up to hide the corpse and be rid of the villain forever, without facing criminal charges themselves. But it seems the doctor and nurse aren't very good at telling whether or not someone is dead, because the next time they checked on the body, Peter was missing. As everyone wondered what had happened to him, Peter resurfaced over in Nixon Falls, spying on Maxie. Stay tuned to GH to see what happens next. Love GH? Be sure to join our We Love General Hospital Facebook group to chat about all the latest storylines and juicy gossip. Ad block test: why